Today, we're going to talk about something I think a lot of young men struggle with being the nice guy. I'll be honest, technically, I'm a nice guy. For a long time, I thought that was a bad thing. I thought it meant I would always finish last. But as I've gotten older, I've realized something different. Being a nice guy isn't the problem. The problem is when you spend your kindness trying to earn approval from people who were never going to appreciate it in the first place. People always say that the nice guy finishes last, of course. I think that's only true when he's constantly sacrificing himself for everyone else. A nice guy who starts investing in himself instead can build an incredible life. There came a point in my life where I noticed something I wish I had understood years earlier. I realized I might spend my entire life trying to become the man someone finally settles for instead of the man they genuinely desired from the beginning. That thought hit me really hard. I wish I had realized it sooner because I probably wouldn't have spent so much of my 20s chasing relationships. But at the same time, everything I've been through taught me who I really am. Throughout high school, I had several girlfriends, but none of those relationships lasted very long. After high school, things changed. It actually became difficult just to meet someone. For years, I believed that one of the biggest goals in a young man's life was finding a woman. Eventually, I was in a relationship that lasted about 3 years. To be completely honest, it was toxic. Looking back, I don't think it was worth everything that came with it, but I also can't say I regret it because it helped me make the man I am today. As time went on, I noticed a pattern. I was constantly giving away my time, my attention, my effort, and my energy to people who weren't giving the same back. That reminded me of something I talked about in my second video. I realized I was giving my talents, my blessings, and my gifts away to people who didn't value them, to swine. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was doing the exact same thing with relationships. I spent years believing that if I was just good enough, caring enough, or even patient enough, eventually everything would work out. Life doesn't always work that way. I've heard countless stories from men who spent years chasing relationships, finally got married, and later admitted they felt like they were simply the safe choice instead of the first choice. Whether every story is true isn't really the point. The point is that I asked myself a question. Would I want to spend my life wondering if someone truly wanted me, or if they simply settled because I happened to be available? For me, the answer was no. I'd rather be alone than constantly wonder if I'm somebody's backup plan. To me, that would be one of the biggest insults I could accept. Maybe someone else feels differently, and that's perfectly fine. This is simply the decision I've made for my own life. At this point, I don't pursue women anymore. I'm comfortable with my routine. I'm comfortable relying on myself. Every single day, I'm trying to improve my life one step at a time. My finances, my health, my career, this YouTube channel, my peace. Honestly, another person isn't something I feel like I need anymore. One thing I've also learned is that everyone has problems. When I was younger, I thought attractive people had the most perfect lives. But now I know better. Some people look rich while they're drowning in debt. Some people look happy while they're miserable. Some relationships look perfect from the outside while they're falling apart behind closed doors. People have become incredibly good at presenting an image instead of reality. That's why I stopped comparing my life to what I see on the surface. I've also noticed something else. Sometimes people are attracted to excitement, drama, or relationships that simply aren't healthy. I've seen it happen enough times in my own life to recognize it. Why? Who knows? Maybe that's just human nature. Maybe it's excitement. Maybe it's chemistry. Maybe it's something else. But after seeing enough of it, I realized something important. I'm not changing who I am just to compete with it. If someone doesn't appreciate honesty, loyalty, stability, and respect, then they're simply not worth my time. And that's okay. Instead of spending years trying to convince someone to choose me, I'd rather spend those years building a life that I genuinely enjoy living. Because at the end of the day, when you're improving yourself, you win regardless. There are always going to be people who tell you you're too nice, too quiet, too boring, too different, or not good enough. But think about something. When those people aren't around, do you actually think those things about yourself? Probably not. You just live your life. That's why I've stopped letting other people define who I am. I've chosen to define myself instead. At the end of the day, my goal isn't to convince everyone to live exactly like I do. I'm simply just sharing what I've learned through my own experiences. If my story helps someone stop chasing approval, stop wasting years trying to earn validation, and start building a life they're proud of, then this video was worth making. Thank you all for listening. This is My Own Way 30, and continue finding your own way.